Election 2024 is over. America has voted, and both sexism and racism have won the day. On Liberal Dan Radio, we will hold everyone accountable, from the media that failed to report the threat that Trump poses to this nation, to the people who supported him. We will pick up the mantle to educate the people about his actions, from being dictator on day one, pardoning January 6th domestic terrorists, implementing Project 2025, and any other draconian measures he tries to pass. And now, the resistance begins. And welcome back to Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left. That's right, this is your host, Dan Zimmerman, coming at you from New Orleans, Louisiana. When we do open the phone lines, the phone number will be 562-542-3261 or 562-LIBDAN1. You'll know that the phone lines are open when we have that little image right there. It doesn't flash normally, but I'm just making it flash because I feel like it. Anyway, otherwise, if you want to leave your comments, just make sure to comment either at the show chat, liberaldanradio.com, or on twitch.tv/liberaldanradio. Either way, I might be less likely to see to lose your comments on Twitch because we have fewer commenters there typically, but either one will typically do. Let's see, shouts out to all the folks in the chat. We got Aaron and Jolie, the Mod Squad. We got Alton Gillespie from Paradise, Texas, which is weird. We have a place called Paradis in Louisiana, which is paradise without the E. So, although I don't know if there's a lack of E or how much ecstasy they do over there, but you know, who knows. Josh is here, Mad Mac, Krista, Roxanne. Let's see, did I miss anybody? Mad Mac. Thank you all for joining us. Appreciate you. I'm sure others will stroll in occasionally or eventually. So we're going to talk about a couple of other things before we get to the meat of the show. Chad, thank you for the $20 super chat. That's one of the ways you can help Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left, that's right, by giving super chat, super stickers, gifting memberships here on liberaldanradio.com, the YouTube channel. You could make sure that other people can get all the benefits of being a liberal danimal. You can also, if you have Amazon Prime, you could do it for free and become a subscriber on Twitch. You could also subscribe yourself normally and buy bits, etc., and buy subscriptions over there as well. Why they had to be different on each of the ones, each one's got to be their own special snowflake. So you could also Venmo Liberal Dan on Venmo. It's just at Liberal Dan. Just send to friends and family because you're not buying anything. We got Buy Me a Cider. If you go to liberaldan.com and click the Buy Me a Cider button, you can make a one-time contribution, which will show up on the show. Otherwise, what else? Oh, Patreon. Patreon.com/liberaldan or patreon.liberaldan.com. Either way, it gets you there. Hey, Tim, good to see you. We got Janelle. Said hello to Janelle over in house chat. Jackie, am I missing anybody? If I've said your name twice, well, I guess that's because you're extra nice, right? It's weird because I thought I had my. Thank you, Aaron, for subbing. If you sub over there on 16 months subscription by Aaron over on Twitch, thank you for that. We've been monetized over there for about a month. I guess, was it a month more? I guess that I was monetized here. I think so. I think we got the monetization right around the new year of last year, and then maybe it's a little more than that. I don't know. Yeah, that makes sense. And then we immediately thereafterwards went after the getting monetized over on Twitch. We were already monetized on Twitch for nerdydan.com, and now we're just doing it on Liberal Dan Radio as well. All sorts of ways to try and get a couple of shekels, couple of nickels and dimes from the internet, whilst we're arguing and discussing politics and bringing up issues. So again, what is it that, again, let's just see what Chad says. It's the independents that are turning MAGA will sink or swim with the prez. They ain't flipping. Possible, although there are some people who have been critical, one less so than somebody else. We will get to that in a second. couple of, I guess, funny stories before we get into the meat of the issues. We've got, I've been talking about how I'm writing a book, and I'm trying to, it's a sci-fi book, so it's not like a political book or anything. I'm sure I could write one of those too. So I'm writing this book. I'm in a writing class. And in the writing class, the teacher basically says that, you know, we usually have projects that we do every course that we take, if it's a longer course, not if it's a short course. So every class, we get to submit 2 pieces of writing to the class so that our fellow classmates and the person who runs the class can all give their critiques, see what they like, say what they don't like. I usually get nothing but positive feedback on what I've written so far. Some things need to be tightened up, some things need to be expanded, but it's looking good, and I'm wanting to spend more time doing this. Maybe when things get a little less hectic, I'll focus more time on it. But in this class, we also have a project that we're all doing, and basically at the beginning of the class, we all put, suggested an occupation, suggested an item, and then Stephen was going to grab a random weird picture, I guess, that he had from somebody. It's like, you're going to write a story that's going to include somebody that's going to have this profession, this item, and this is picture of somebody who's taking part in the story. So when I got mine drawn, I'm the second to last group of 2 that's submitting this upcoming Thursday. And I got astronaut and an egg cup. And everyone's like, oof, how do you do an astronaut and an egg cup? That doesn't make any sense. And I'm sitting there in class thinking, like, what the heck am I going to do with that? Am I going to have the egg cup floating around in space? What am I going to do? And all of a sudden I realized, wait, I'm writing a book about sci-fi, and the guy is basically training to be somebody who flies around in space at the beginning of the book, or at some point in the flashbacks, and he's basically there's adventures in space that he takes part in. So I'm like, hey, look at that. I'm writing a story about somebody who's trying to be an astronaut. I'm going to just submit a 3rd submission of my story. And I told 2 of my other classmates as I was leaving, and they were like, that's brilliant. So I got stupid lucky with that. Hey, Leanna Guyard, thank you again for the $49.99 super chat last time. I really appreciate it. Hey, Teresa, good to see you. Steven, who else am I missing? Am I missing anybody else? I don't think so yet. Chad, I'll buy a book from you if you ever put one out. It'd be interesting to see your writing style. All right, well, good to know. Good to know I have at least one sale. I have about 40,000 words written. There are some parts of the story that need to be expanded, like kind of like, here's like a scene, but like not really stuff that all flows together. That's some of what I've submitted. And other things I've submitted are scenes where like the teacher and other people have suggested exactly what I should improve in that, how to add more dialogue, add more scenery, add more texture, as they say sometimes, to the story, to give the people a more immersive experience. So there's that. So I was just amused at the fact that I get to submit a 3rd part of my story when I wasn't anticipating on doing that. What else? Writing wise, I did read the 100-word story that I wrote for a writing contest on the show, and the gut punch one, the one based in like historical fiction, and I basically based it during the Holocaust. So just punch to the gut. So we'll see what that is. I think that should come out either May 14th or May 15th as to whether or not I will advance to the next round or not. So we'll find that out, I guess, in a half month or so. Anyway, the other funny thing. A lot of the times I'll be watching television. Sometimes I'll be watching it with my wife, with Cassie, and I'll be watching it and I'll be like, hey, this guy looks familiar. This person looks, even when I'm not watching it with my wife, it's like, this person looks familiar. Go run to IMDb and see exactly why the person looks familiar. There's one show that was on which had like one terrible person, was Danny Masterson or whatever, and he was with like 3 other people, and there was like many different shows where I'm like, where do I know this person from? Go look up the episode of the show I'm watching, go find the character, go find the actor. Oh, from that show. Got it. Let's see. One Division. Big science experiment is the egg drop. Build a paper lander to stop it from breaking 10 feet high. That's the egghead story. Nice. Thank you, Impeccable Living. Appreciate you. Good to see you.
Oh, my.
I'm glad I'm giving you the vapors. What else? Hey, it's Steve from across the pond. Just hello, big hello, friends. If I say hi separately, it'll die. Taking me this long just to get Dan on. Hello, everybody, and of course the obligatory.
It's no Scottish, it's crap.
There you go. So thank you for swinging by, even if you're having computer issues. Let's change your password to baseball bat. It works for my computer. LOL. If I was an author, I'd try and figure out different ways to weaponize fish in every story. That's interesting. Weaponized fish. Anyway, so what was I saying? Anyway, so I'm watching. I think it's a movie. It wasn't on. Usually, my wife likes to watch a bunch of the Hallmark stuff, but I think this particular movie, though, I think was either on Netflix or Prime or something like that. And there was this guy on there, and I wasn't really paying much attention to what the guy was looking to. I was more like kind of like looking at Cassie, petting my dogs. But all of a sudden, I hear the guy say something, and I'm like, that sounds like the guy who plays Agent Gibbs from the NCIS Origins TV show, i.e., Mark Harmon played Special Agent Jethro Gibbs or whatever on the original NCIS, and he actually narrates the show. But there's another actor that got to play the younger version of Gibbs, and I'm like, he sounds a lot like Gibbs. I think he might be it. And then my wife goes, I think this guy is much more attractive than that guy. All right, so I look it up on IMDb, go find it. Find the movie, find the character name, look at the actor name, click through the actor name onto IMDb, and I looked at my wife again. I was like, are you sure that guy is more attractive than the guy who's on NCIS Origins? She goes, yes. I'm like, because it's the same guy. So I guess I have a knack for, not just do I have a knack for political issues and discussing and debating politics, apparently I have useless knowledge about recognizing people from different shows. What good that'll do me, who the heck knows, but it's fun. So, let's see. Suzanne, did I say hello to Suzanne? If I didn't, hello, Suzanne. If I didn't, hello again. Or if I did, hello again. Anyway, so that was just an amusing thing. We got enough viewers, I think, at this point to start chatting about stuff in the show. And the first thing we are going to be discussing is a piece of unfortunate news from... I think it's in North Carolina. Whatchamacallit? A defendant in deadly Johnston County custody exchange shooting says he was scared before the gun went off. So basically, this guy has his child. Him and his, I guess, ex were having problems, and so whatever he claimed that whatever she was doing or whatever, and he has his problems or whatever, but unfortunately this person, the mother and the sister, i.e. the aunt of the child that was upstairs, go pick up the kid, and the aunt went with her sister just basically to say, hey, just be there, moral support, etc. Nothing nefarious. Well, this guy manufactures, from as I understand it, and just my opinion of as reading it as well, reading the facts of the case that I've been able to find, basically says that he was scared for his life. And so not only did he have a gun on him, not only did he bring a gun downstairs before she got there, which I don't know how an attorney screwed that up, he loaded and cocked the gun before opening the door. Now, I don't know if that should qualify as premeditated murder in the first degree, but this jury had the opportunity to do murder in the second degree, do involuntary manslaughter, do regular manslaughter. This guy got off scot-free murdering his kid's aunt, in my opinion, I should say. The justice system did not find him guilty. The jury acquitted him on all charges. So according to the eyes of the law, he is innocent. According to the eyes of many other people, he ain't. And this just goes to show a huge problem in this country that we've created with our gun laws and how we treat guns and so-called self-defense. Because if you take out somebody like George Zimmerman did to Trayvon Martin, if you take out somebody like Derek Chauvin did to George Floyd, I mean, with Derek Chauvin, he had a lot of other stuff around him, so he wasn't able to get away with his crimes. But there is no incentive for people in this country to use less force if necessary. There is no... The only thing that would cause somebody to use less force if more force isn't necessary is somebody being a moral person, an ethical person, somebody who is not a bloodthirsty gun nut. Right? We have too many bloodthirsty gun nuts in this country who are more than willing to use deadly force to solve issues that need not be solved by deadly force. Nothing that was going on there was helped by a gun, and the gun only helped to take an innocent life. And he claims it was an accident. Well, if it was an accident, was it an accident that you brought the gun downstairs with you? Was it an accident that you loaded and cocked the gun before opening the door? I mean, he says these two women shows up at his door and is knocking hard, and he's scared, and it's shaking the house. Yes, I'm sure two women, unless you live in a frickin' trailer, which I don't think you did, because, you know, the kid was upstairs. I don't know how many trailers have upstairs to them. But, yeah. Aaron says, and you know, Aaron, just for everybody to know, Aaron knew the person who was killed. Friend of hers. So, my condolences to Aaron and to the loved ones of the rest of the loved ones of the individual who was shot. But yeah, 3 safeties on the gun. How do you accidentally discharge a gun or shoot somebody when you have safeties on the gun? Right? Doesn't make sense. But the reason this is allowed to happen in this country is because we allow people to be bloodthirsty. We just take people at their word that, oh, I was scared. And we have stopped. Now, I don't know what the law is currently in North Carolina, so I'm just going to make this a more generalization of what's going on with the laws in our country. But in red states in particular, we have moved, and I've talked about this on the podcast before, we have moved away from the traditional way that we handle affirmative defenses. What's an affirmative defense? Affirmative defense is basically when somebody says, yes, I did this action, and this is why it should be considered legal. Because you're affirming that the actions took place. You're just trying to explain the reason why you shouldn't go to prison for them. It used to be, if you raise an affirmative defense, self-defense, or even just accident, I would say saying it's an accident is an affirmative defense, because he's admitting that he shot the person. So typically what has been done, it's still done at the federal level, at the moment at least, but what has been done in many state legislatures is they've taken the affirmative defense. They've taken it from saying, hey, if you raise an affirmative defense as the defense attorney, as the person who is the defendant in the trial, if you raise an affirmative defense against a criminal action, the onus then becomes on you, the accused, to explain, it's not beyond reasonable doubt, to explain beyond, with a preponderance of the evidence. So you don't have to say beyond reasonable doubt. There can be doubt. There can be unreasonable doubt. There can be reasonable doubt at that point, but that's what's not needed to prove your affirmative defense. To prove the affirmative defense, you just need to say it's more likely than not that the actions I took were done in a manner that would enable me to have you consider this normally illegal act to be legal. So we've changed that in this country to now when somebody raises an affirmative defense, we now put the onus on the prosecution to disprove the claim, i.e., the prosecution is required to prove a negative. What? That is a logical fallacy. To ask somebody to prove a negative. Prove God doesn't exist. Prove that I wasn't at this particular place this particular day. If I say, oh, I couldn't have been there, I wasn't there. The onus on me would be to provide the alibi. No, now we're going to tell the state, you have to disprove the alibi. You have to disprove that. Now, if there's video evidence, sure. I mean, that's easier than others, but still, requiring somebody to prove a negative is a logical fallacy and should never be done, regardless if the onus is on the defendant or if it's on the prosecution. Now, normally, we don't ask the defense to prove a negative. We don't ask the defense to prove that you didn't do it. We require the prosecution to prove you did do it. But proving you did do it means proving that you did an action that we consider to be illegal in this country, or in the state or the county or the municipality or whatever where you're located. But again, when you raise an affirmative defense, used to be, you now are responsible for showing why the affirmative defense should be believed by the jury. Now they've put it on the prosecution, which makes it a lot easier to get away with murder. Especially when, you murder the person. You can get away with assault. And the best way to get away with assault in these states that change the affirmative defense rules is to basically kill the person. Because if you don't, that person can testify against you and give their side of the story. But if you kill them, like George Zimmerman did to Trayvon Martin, then there's nobody there to refute your testimony. Again, we've made it easier in this country full of gun nuts, to get away with murder. What's the worst that can happen? Well, innocent people get shot, innocent people die, and nobody goes to prison for it. All because we have a culture of guns. There was no reason to bring a gun downstairs, let alone a reason to wield it, brandish it, whilst opening the door, and cocking it, and taking out the safeties. Those, to me, are actions of somebody who has intent. Now, again, that's all my opinion. The courts said otherwise. But just as I've disagreed with the Supreme Court on this podcast in many a circumstance, just like I agreed with the courts in Florida that found George Zimmerman to be not guilty when, in my opinion, he was guilty AF. Same thing happened here too. There's one other thing that was said in this article, either by this article or the other article. So was it during the cross-examination? He was in a heightened emotional state the day of the shooting. He said Lombardi sent him threatening text about sending Hell's Angels members were going to, quote, assassinate him. Nobody's saying that was actually valid or not. I mean, again, if that's what they sent, you should be able to prove that. So where's this? There's another comment that was made. I think I was on this one. I don't want to say his words specifically because I don't think he should have the ability to have his words stated on my podcast. But there was something in there. Let's see. Now, this is it. Attorney Joe Zesarowski was the attorney of the accused. Goes, it's quite simple. If there is any reasonable possibility from the evidence that this was an accident, the law says it's your duty to return a verdict of not guilty. So, again, accidents are an affirmative defense. So it's not that there should be a reasonable possibility that it was an accident. It should be, you should have to prove that more likely than not that it was an accident. That's on you, or that should be on you. But what conservatives have done, what groups like ALEC has done, which makes model legislation and sends them out to all of these areas, What they do is they've now made it so that an attorney can say this. Where we've gone about this is a dangerous place. Again, more people will needlessly die because we've made it easier in this country to get away with murder. Simple as that. Yeah, I mean, I remember Aaron telling me about the story a while back, and I was like, this should be cut and dry. I remember, I think it was last year, when she was shot. This should be cut and dry. Yes, exactly, Lisa, in the chat. Or prove God does exist. Yeah. Well, that's not necessarily a negative, but... So... Big Hook, premeditated murder seems like an Occam's razor explanation. And look, to me, like, I think in many or most jurisdictions, I think premeditated murder requires that you, like, were wanting to go downstairs and wanting to shoot the person as you're taking your actions. I'm willing to believe that it might have been a difficult case to prove intent. Maybe. I'm willing to believe that, maybe the prosecution understood that this jury might not have been able to find a verdict of guilty of murder in the first degree. Easy for me to say. I can see that, but that's why the prosecution and I guess the law allows for lesser charges to be brought. Or not even lesser charges to be brought. In some cases, in some municipalities, in some states, you don't need to bring the extra charges. If you're charged with murder, the jury has the option to bring a lesser crime or a lesser verdict into play. So bring murder one. In those states where that's allowable, you bring murder one. It allows for manslaughter. It automatically allows the jury to say, okay, this is what murder is, this is what murder said in the second degree is, this is what manslaughter is, this is what involuntary manslaughter is. That's what all these things are. If anything, he should have been found guilty of reckless endangerment of another human being by inappropriately handling his firearm. But not even that was on the table. And because, we now have the Trump administration and Pam Bondi in charge of the Department of Justice, are they going to bring a case? I mean, according to Pam Bondi... No one is above the law in this country. Right? That's what she says. No one is above the law in this country, but will she try and go after this guy for violating the individual's civil rights? I mean, the right to live, the right to exist, the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? Probably not. Because that would mean going after somebody who was defending himself in his home. Look, and I'll be the first one to tell you, if somebody is breaking into your house, if somebody is literally breaking into your house, that person can be reasonably believed to be a threat to other people, and I'm not going to sit here and judge people who take out somebody who's breaking into a house. That's not what was happening here, though. Clearly, that was not what was happening here. And clearly, this guy is just claiming he was scared, in my opinion. He was just claiming that he was scared in order to get away with an illegal shooting of somebody. Of course, I'm going to say it once and say it several times during the course of this conversation. These are all my opinions. This is of what happened in the case. The legal status of this individual is that he is not guilty, which we find unfortunate, but that's how it is. And look, I will say this as well. It is also better to live in a country where 50 people get away with their crimes instead of having one where innocent people go to prison. And if we had a country where we made sure that innocent people didn't go to prison, that might be relevant. But we don't live in a country where we ensure that innocent people go to prison. We live in a country where innocent people get deported. More on that in a second. But yeah, so again, my thoughts, my love go out to you, Aaron, and to everybody else who knew this wonderful person who Aaron described in chat as a light in the world. And it is unfortunate that that life was extinguished way too soon. And honestly, any death would have been way too soon unless it was, even with natural causes. But, let's see. I've had a shotgun in my face and told to play a song on my keyboard. What? What? Oh my God. My sister's junkie husband held me at gunpoint at age 12. Wow. I mean, there's another problem here. How many of these people holding guns to people's heads, how many of these people were women? Now, I'm not going to say all men are a threat, but a bunch of men are, though. And we need to do a better job in this country of teaching men, boys, etc., the ability to handle disputes without resorting to violence. Because too many people, too many times, people are quick to resort to violence. And I'm not going to say that women are not violent, but there are violent women. But the problem with violence in this country is predominantly put on by guys.
It is what it is.
And it's partially that guy's fault. Because that guy has enabled and encouraged and emboldened all these assholes. Anyway. I've missed, what did I miss about Suzanne? Don't hold what against me. I missed that. Or don't use something against you. I had a gun pointed at me from one of my partners. He was crazy and I diffused the situation. No, I mean, why would I use that against you? That sounds reasonable. That sounds reasonable thing that you were able to diffuse the situation. But, as I've said, why were you able to diffuse the situation as opposed to other people, people who you are not, i.e. not a man? You were able to diffuse the situation, but because we don't have a problem with explaining women how to do, how to solve problems without their fists or worse. But guys, we absolutely need to do a better job of helping to understand, helping children to understand, helping our young men to understand that the urge to immediately go to violence is toxic and it needs to stop. Susan, there are a lot of crazy people out there. Yes, and a lot of them wear red hats. A lot of them voted for this guy. Who's this guy? This guy. This is a picture of Donald Trump at the funeral of the Pope, of Pope Francis. Do you realize anything? Do you notice anything? The Vatican requested that everybody wear black suits. What did sleepyhead dingus over here do? Blue suit, blue tie, blue pants, orange skin. That's what he did. Now, Melania, is dressing for the job she wants. Maybe. Because she dressed in all black in mourning. One can only hope, right? But yeah. And it looks here like, again, I will always say all the time, it is not the best take to take a screenshot of something and to judge this. Maybe he was blinking. I don't know. Maybe he was blinking. Maybe the sun got in his eyes. Maybe he just, needed to shut his eyes for a second for some reason. Maybe he was deep in thought. It's very hard for me to say that with a straight face. Deep in something, that's for sure. But yeah, he is supposed to be our world leader, right? The president is supposed to be the leader of the free world, but he is a dingbat who doesn't follow protocols, doesn't respect the wishes of anybody else, and just does whatever it is that he wants to do. And why does Trump do this? Because according to an interview with The Atlantic, he says, "I run the country and the world." Well, you're running the country into the ground. That's for one. And yes, we did elect you to head the executive branch. I mean, I didn't, but, you know, the country as a whole, the electorate did. But, yeah, I run the country and the world. So was Donald Trump, like, triggered or something? Did he hear Beyonce's song and hear Girls Run the World? And to say, no, Beyonce is wrong. I run the world. It's not Beyonce or girls. It's Trump. Who rules the world? Trump. Who rules the world? Trump. Who rules this mother? Trump. Anyway, so yeah, he runs the world. He's gonna run the world and down the toilet. Anyway, I'd even end the video normally. That I would do. Yeah, Trump lacks morality, ethics. Of course, I mean, you know, what else? Cheats on his wives. A lot of people say cheats on his wives with a porn star, but I don't want to disparage Stormy Daniels. She is a treasure. I mean, I wouldn't have chose, even if I was in that profession, I would have said no to that opportunity. But who knows? Who knows how much he offered? I don't know. But yeah, no. Just gross. He was allegedly elected. Yeah, that's true too. Allegedly. Trump was on, of course he was on his phone part of the time. Dingbat is too nice. Well, I should have said motherfucker. Chad, he was for sure praying. Oh yeah. Yeah, I was praying. They had a bit where people were in, I guess, the White House, and they had a sort of a Christian revival moment going on over there, and they're singing like, "Our God is an awesome God, He reigns," or whatever the song is. I'm Jewish, so I don't know what the hell that song goes. Maybe I got it right simply because I heard it enough in commercials for churches when I was watching TV as a kid. I don't know, but yeah. I'm surprised Donald Trump didn't come out and was like, no, that's not the lyrics I want you to say. I want you to say, our Trump is an awesome God. That's what the new lyrics are. Our Trump is an awesome God. Yeah. He offered $135,000 to keep her quiet. But what did he get her? What did he pay to get her into the sack? That's what I want to know. Yeah, he's done far worse than using a sex worker. Yes, he has. That's not bad. I'm not judging the use of a sex worker. I'm not judging hiring a sex worker. Sex workers work. I'm not going to begrudge people for, you know, hell, one could argue that he married one, because what's the difference of marrying for money, just for money, and having it's just a long-term prostitution. That's what marriage for money is. Long-term prostitution, I should say. I like the part where Zelensky heard his confession. Yeah. But yes, Krista, he is absolutely a national embarrassment. It's the goddess Kimchi. The goddess Kimchi has arrived. Everybody all bow down and pay respects to... that's what we should start singing. Our goddess is an awesome goddess. Kimchi. Anyway, I don't know. I could probably do better with a parody for Kimchi like that. But, you know, Jolie, they do use that song a lot. Yeah, I do remember... that there was a time when I think it was freshman year. It was definitely freshman year. We took a road trip up to Baton Rouge to go hang out with the person, one of the guys on my floor's girlfriends and her friends at their house that they lived at when they're at LSU. Because she went to LSU, he went to Tulane. So took a little road trip, went to go hang out there for the weekend, and I woke up in the middle of the night, or not, maybe I woke up in the morning as they were getting ready for breakfast or something, and I was sitting there and I was like, and I start hearing all this Christian music being played in this house where, you know, it's just college age students, and I'm like waking up like, what the hell is this shit? And I'm hearing like, Jesus loves the little children, all the children of the world. And I'm like, red and yellow, black or blue, but not if you're a Jew. Jesus loves the little children of the world. Anyway, yeah, I was like, I cannot get out of this house quickly enough. Please get me the heck out of here. Oh, is Impeccable leaving? I have to go do something gay. I might be back.
Oh, my.
Well, there you go. There's a parting shot for oh my. Next thing we like to talk about here on the show is David Hogg, the vice chair of the DNC, has said that he is not breaking any current rules and that his actions don't interfere with his party responsibilities. But what is he trying to do? He is going to raise millions of dollars through a political action committee unaffiliated with the DNC to support primary challengers running against longtime incumbents in solidly Democratic congressional districts. He says the party needs a shakeup to bring in leaders who will more aggressively confront Trump and connect with younger voters. Now, I've said something very similar on this show. I have said that we need to move Congress to the left. Moving Congress to the left not just means replacing entrenched incumbents in safe blue districts with people who are more progressive leftist. It doesn't just mean that. It also means replacing centrist Democrats with, more liberal ones, more left-leaning ones. It means is trying to kick out centrist Republicans if one or two of them exist. I don't know. And trying to replace them in their districts with maybe a centrist Democrat. Trying to move every district to the left as possible, as far left as you can. I've no problem with the idea of what David Hogg is saying. I have no problem with the concept of trying to get rid of people who probably have been in there way too long and who are not being effective. Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer has been entrenched in there. New York State is a solidly blue state and will vote for the Democratic candidate regardless. But Chuck Schumer's way of dealing with Trump is he wrote a strongly worded letter. What the hell good is a strongly worded letter gonna do? Donald Trump can't even read. You need to send it to him as a coloring book. Or maybe hope that somebody else might read it to him and then pray that he might understand it. Which 50-50 on him actually understanding it, and that's being generous. Only thing I would say for certain that Trump understands is if he were trying to swindle or con somebody, he would absolutely understand that, because that's what he is. He's a con artist, a snake oil salesman, etc. But the only thing I would add about David Hogg and what he's doing is that it's fine for him to do this. I just don't think it's appropriate for him to be doing this as vice chair of the DNC. It is the responsibility of the DNC to get Democrats elected. It is not the responsibility of the DNC to remove Democrats from office. Exceptions being for Democrats who have clearly showed themselves not just beyond ineptitude, but, who are, criminals. Like they should have gotten rid of, Senator Menendez, long time ago. No, and that should have been something that the DNC did. Cleaning up their own ranks and getting the trash out should be one thing. That should be definitely part of the party. However, if the only thing that person has done wrong is not be to the left enough and not be as vocal as you would like to be, yeah, sure. Do this thing, get them primaried, and if you could defeat them in the primary, then it would be the responsibility of the Democratic Party to support whoever candidate wins in the runoff. But as vice chair of the Democratic Party, I don't think it's appropriate for him to be doing that. He should be doing it as external to the party. But, hey, that's just me. What do you think? Do you agree with me? Do you agree that we need to move this country, we need to move every seat in Congress as left as possible, but that David Hogg, I have no problem with him doing this, he shouldn't be doing it as vice chair? Do you disagree with me on that part, that, he shouldn't be doing it as vice chair, that if you think he should be doing this as vice chair, leave your comments down below. And if you disagree with me about moving everybody to the left, leave your comments down below as well. Remember to like the video, share, subscribe to the channel, and of course, unless you're a Nazi, have a good day. Good night, Chad. Thank you for joining, and thank you for the $20 super chat. Appreciate you. Leanna, can we not bash Democrats right now and worry about that after Trump? Well, here's the thing, though. Yes, I generally am thinking, and that's why I'm only spending a couple minutes on the channel talking about David Hogg, because I will be critical of people on the left when I feel that there needs to be criticism of them. But I'm saying that he's part of the Democratic Party. He should be responsible for pushing the party to be more forceful, not to replace people who are already there. So to me, standing up to what he's trying to do as vice chair is trying to urge somebody who is an appointed, I guess, or I don't know if it's appointed, but the people within the Democratic Party leadership chose him to be vice chair, right? So as vice chair, he needs to be supporting Democrats, period. If he wants to do other things, if he was doing this as not as vice chair, I'd be like, I'm 100% behind you. Go right ahead. Go do it. But because he's doing it as vice chair, even though he says it's not going to interfere with his duties and he's going to be doing it outside, I think that's the problem. So anyway, we need a Democratic, quote, Tea Party, end quote. Probably. Maybe David Hogg will turn this into centrist Dan Radio. Oh, no. No, not at all. I'm moving more and more to the left as I get older. So that's not going to happen. Roxana, do not like the baby with the bathwater approach. I agree with you as well on that. So let's see. And there's like here he says, they're trying to change the rules because I'm not currently breaking them, as we're seeing law firms, tech companies, so many others bowing to Trump. We all must use whatever position of power we have to fight back, and that's exactly what I'm doing. Yeah, but you're not fighting back against him. You're fighting back against your own party as vice chair. That's the issue. The moment requires us to have the strongest opposition party possible. I agree with you on that. And to stop Trump from destroying people's retirement savings, disappearing people, plunging our economy into oblivion, and to provide a real alternative to the Republican Party for the voters we simply do not have right now. And yes, we do need to do that. And you can recruit people to run, but doing it as vice chair, I mean, at this point, at least I'm a socialist, basically. I mean, people would probably say that about me too, but people on the right called Biden a socialist, and that's just not true whatsoever. What else are we going to talk about? Let's talk about this one, shall we? Let us talk about what they're trying to do here in the good old state of Louisiana. Senate Bill 19 by Senator Michael Big Mike Fessy. What does he want to do? An act relative to the dispensing of ivermectin to provide for a standing order for the dispensing of ivermectin, to provide for the pharmacist authorization, to provide for the rulemaking, to provide for immunity, and to provide for related matters. Authorization to dispense ivermectin. A pharmacist may dispense ivermectin to any person who is 18 years or older, pursuant to a standing order issued by the Louisiana Department of Health. The Louisiana Department of Health shall adopt rules to establish standard procedures for the dispensing of ivermectin, including but not limited to providing the patient with a screening risk assessment tool, providing the patient with information on the indications and contraindications for the use of ivermectin, the appropriate method for using ivermectin, the importance of a medical follow-up, and any other information considered appropriate for the department. The rules may include prohibitions on dispensing ivermectin that contains any ingredients determined by the department to be harmful. In addition to the ingredient cost and dispensing fee associated with dispensing ivermectin, a pharmacy may charge an administrative fee for the services provided pursuant to paragraph B1. A pharmacist acting in good faith and with reasonable care pursuant to the section is immune from disciplinary or adverse administrative action from the Louisiana Board of Pharmacy and is immune from civil liability in the absence of gross negligence or willful misconduct. Nothing in this section shall be construed to require a health insurance provider to provide coverage for ivermectin dispensed pursuant to the provisions of this section. So, digest. Proposed law authorizes a pharmacist to dispense ivermectin to a person 18 years or older. Proposed law requires the Department of Health to adopt rules to establish prescribing it. Proposed law authorizes the pharmacy to charge the administrative fee for services provided by the proposed law, provides for immunity for pharmacists dispensing ivermectin in accordance with proposed law, and provides health insurance is not required to cover it. So, this is like more hypocrisy from the right, in that he's wanting to give immunity to a pharmacist who dispenses a drug for something that you shouldn't be using it for. As Hal Sparks said long time ago, if you have COVID and you take ivermectin and feel better, you probably also had worms. It's as simple as that. But yeah, Big Mike wants to, make it legal for your pharmacist to be able to give you ivermectin. Now look, I don't think there's a problem with giving ivermectin to people if it requires it. Like if you have some sort of parasitic wormy type infection or whatever, and your doctor says, yes, we're going to prescribe this because you have worms. Guess what? You should be able to take it. But the idea that we're going to say that pharmacists can give it out to anybody for any reason? No. That's just dumb. What else is the legislature doing? Again, SB 2 by Senator Michael Big Mike Fessy. Big Mike's on a roll with this one. Here. Public health provides relative to fluoridation. To enact RS 45.3.1 and to repeal 45.11 relative to public water systems, to repeal the Louisiana Department of Health's water fluoridation program, to prohibit the fluoridation of public water systems, and to provide for related matters. Being enacted by the legislature of Louisiana, Section 1 RS 40:5.3.1 is hereby enacted as follows. Fluoridation of public water systems prohibited. Fluoridation of any public water system in Louisiana is prohibited. That's it. That's all the law says. I mean, good on you for making the law be succinct and easy to understand. Now, we want to make, I guess, old Big Mike, here's old Big Mike here, keeping the bayou strong. Yeah. Terrebonne and Lafourche Parish, Senate District 20. Oh, Big Mike. I don't know if those chompers are real or if those are dentures or whatever. I haven't asked him. I don't know. But apparently, he doesn't feel that the number of states that exist that you can use the joke, why was the toothbrush invented in such and such state? The answer is because if it was answered in a different state, it would be called a teeth brush. So apparently, Big Mike Fessy, or Big Mike Fessy, I should say, and his website is bigmikefessy.com. Way to go, Big Mike. Big Mike wants people to be able to tell the joke as, why was the toothbrush invented in Louisiana? Why? Because if it was invented anywhere else, it would be known as a teeth brush. So yeah, we have geniuses in the Louisiana legislature trying to get rid of fluoride in the water, trying to get rid of or make it so that you can get ivermectin whenever you want it. Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. There is no reason why these things should pass, but I guarantee you they will pass. Why? Because we have baby MAGA in our governor, and we have a bunch of other MAGA wannabes or MAGA shills in the legislature. So I'm sure this is going to pass, and the teeth of the citizens of Louisiana are going to get worse and worse, until. What do you think? Do you believe that ivermectin should be able to be prescribed to individuals regardless of what their condition is? Do you think that pharmacists should be able to get off scot-free if they dispense it incorrectly, as long as it wasn't gross negligence or malpractice? Do you think that we should be getting rid of the fluoride in the water? Leave your comments down below. Remember to like the video, share, and subscribe to the channel. And unless you're a Nazi with, bad teeth, have a good day. See, the Louisiana guy, there have been no studies of long-term use of ivermectin for humans. I've seen people who carry the paste in their pocket and have a squeeze every once in a while. That's just ridiculous. That is absurd. Just to walk around with a little tube of ivermectin. It's absurd. Can you sell human parasites as fishing bait in Louisiana? I don't know if there's a whole bunch of human parasites in Louisiana, and they're all they're Republicans in the Louisiana legislature and the people that vote for them. So I don't know if it's legal to use humans as fishing bait. Hey, it's Trucker John. Good to see you, Trucker John. Thank you for swinging by. Louisiana suffers by residing adjacent to Mississippi. Yeah, unfortunately. Although many times Louisiana likes to surpass Mississippi and go straight to number 50 as the worst state in various things. So yeah, there we go with that one. see what else. I wouldn't trust the pharmacist. I wouldn't either. I say if the doctor prescribes it, the doctor has liability. I agree with you there. I think there should be liability for prescribing something. There are other things that I think should be able to be prescribed by doctors without issue. Like I know in Louisiana you have medicinal marijuana. That shouldn't have to be a thing. We should be able to if a doctor thinks that marijuana can treat your condition, then you should be able to take marijuana for your condition. If you need THC, you should get THC. If he wants to give you CBD and THC, it should be A-OK. But, you know, this whole thing with ivermectin is just ridiculous. It's just the same thing, the whole thing with fluoride in the water. Oh, fluoride in the water is killing people. Maybe whatchamacallit is going to come out and say fluoride causes autism next, because, you know, who the hell knows what they think in that party. Absurd is such a great word in the way you said it. Well, thank you. See, Moses was used for alligator bait. I heard it in a song once. Is it Representative John Kennedy from Louisiana? Yes, he is. He is a national embarrassment. There is or statewide embarrassment, I should say. He used to run an ad, and basically the ad was like, I'd rather drink weed killer than do whatever it is he was talking about. I'm like, I wish you would. Get yourself a good bowel issue, go to the doctor, leave us the hell alone. Get out, do it now. Anyway. So, we got 99 problems, and every day of the Trump administration is one. And it has been 99 days. It feels like it's been a whole hell of a lot longer, as someone in chat said. I think it was Lisa. But yes, it's felt like a whole hell of a lot longer with Donald Trump than just 100 days tomorrow. That being said, the ridiculousness of the Trump administration is jumping ahead in leaps and bounds. Abrego Garcia's wife had to move to a safe house because the Department of Homeland Security exposed her address on Twitter. Jennifer Vasquez Sura, the wife of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, said she fears for her family's safety after verbal attacks from Donald Trump and government officials. The wife of Maryland man who was deported to El Salvador by mistake. And of course, they're back and forth on this still. Was it a mistake? Or was he MS-13? Was it a mistake? Or was he part of another gang? Was it a mistake? Or was it something else? They can't seem to get their story straight. I don't feel safe when the government posts my address, the house where my family lives, for everyone to see, especially when this case has gone viral and people have all sorts of opinions. Jennifer Vasquez Sura told the Washington Post. Vasquez Sura, Kilmar Abrego Garcia was one of hundreds of immigrants Trump sent to the notorious prison in El Salvador in March. The administration admitted in court that Abrego Garcia's deportation was a mistake due to an administrative error, even though they keep doubling down on the fact that he is a bad hombre or whatever, however it is Donald Trump said it. Now, there apparently was an initial claim of domestic abuse by Sula about her husband. However, she did not move forward with it because what she did, she had, I guess, had a previous abusive relationship, and she was trying to make sure it didn't get that far, but because it didn't get that far, she dropped the, I guess, civil case. She dropped everything, and therefore it didn't happen. So I'm willing to believe her when she says that it wasn't a problem in the long run and that he wasn't an issue. But they're going to use any excuse that they can to do horrible things in the name of national security. You know. What else has this administration been doing since the last time we were on the air with Liberal Dan Radio? Talk from the left, that's right. Milwaukee County Circuit Judge Hannah Dugan was arrested by the FBI. And the appearance could have a chilling effect and keep immigrants away from court appearances out of fear they might be arrested. Wisconsin state lawmaker says FBI arrested Dugan last week and charged her with obstruction and concealing an individual to prevent an arrest. The federales, the FBI should not have been coming into the state courthouse and trying to interfere with whatever he was being charged with his crimes. Whatever crimes he was charged with, they should have not have interfered with it. You know, because there are state powers and there are federal powers, and there's a separation of powers in this country. They shouldn't have had the authority to interrupt this case to come seize and arrest the person. Let the wheels of justice do their job, and then you go ahead and prove your case. But again, the Trump administration doesn't believe in due process. Conservatives will say bullshit like, what about this person's due process if the person was like Laken Riley? What about Laken Riley's due process? What due process was Laken Riley do? Yeah, she was murdered, and that was unfortunate, and the person who murdered her was found guilty of her murder. That's due process. You arrested him, you detained him during the trial, and then the jury looked at the evidence and said, yeah, he's guilty. Done. He's guilty. Let's convict him. And if the Donald Trump administration wanted to deport that guy to El Salvador after he was proven to be guilty in a court of law, no problem. I would not complain about that one bit. It would be him being a stopped clock, so to speak. But no, that's not what's happening. What's happening is they're deporting people. They're deporting children. There's a 4-year-old citizen of this country. Now, at least Homan, when discussing this topic and discussing the topic of others who were born here to parents of non-citizens who they want to deport, at least he said that acknowledged that the individuals that they're deporting are citizens, instead of trying to do what Donald Trump is trying to do and try and make us reimagine or reword or re-understand the thinking of what the 14th Amendment means in citizenship at birth. So, I mean, that action is deplorable. But what's also deplorable is the fact that they're going to kick out a family out of this country when their citizen child is going through cancer treatments. We are a country that is run by a party that has a culture of death. They don't care who dies. They don't care if Abrego Garcia's wife dies because some crazy saw her address on Twitter and decided to take action himself, even though she is a citizen. They don't care if the kids die that they don't want to have care for. They're more than happy to let them die. Never let a conservative MAGA type tell you that they are the party of life, because they are not. They are the party of death. One death after another. Former New Mexico judge has been arrested on evidence tampering for a charge of allegedly destroying a phone belonging to a tenant who is accused of keeping guns at the property, blah, 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 blah. Now, here's the thing. If these people actually violated the law, sure. I don't think a judge should be able to violate the law, because as Pam Bondi says,
no one is above the law in this country.
That includes your ass. That includes Donald Trump. That includes the fact that y'all are disregarding Supreme Court orders when it comes to the return of Abrego Garcia. You are disregarding court orders in the fact that you allowed planes to take off when they told you to not let them take off. You are disregarding the laws in various things. You are telling people there's a leaked memo that says that you can do warrantless home searches without judicial review. Justice Department memo claims Alien Enemies Act allows warrantless home searches and no judicial review. Memo says alien enemies aren't subject to a judicial review for removal of any court of the United States. Newly uncovered guidance from the Justice Department claims the Alien Enemies Act allows federal law enforcement officers to enter the houses of suspected gang members without a warrant and remove them from the country without judicial review. That's BS, because we've already heard from the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, 9-0. Even Alito and Thomas said that every single person that is going to be deported needs to be given the ability to file a writ of habeas corpus and enough time, reasonable time, to be able to file the writ of habeas corpus. That is the law of the land. And Ms. Bondi says,
no one is above the law in this country.
What was that?
No one is above the law in this country.
One more time.
No one is above the law in this country.
Thank you. So because no one is above the law in this country, that doesn't just apply to people who you want to deport. That applies to every single individual in this country, citizen, non-citizen, criminal, non-criminal, 34-time felon sitting in the White House, his attorney general, and other people who work for him in his, administration. Anyway, what do you think? Do you think that nobody being above the law should include Donald Trump and the administration? I mean, I think so. Shouldn't you? Leave your comments down below. Remember to like the video, share, subscribe to the channel. And of course, unless you're a Nazi, have a good day. I have a feeling that, yes, of course, Pam Bondi is a hack. I mean, the only reason that we got Pam Bondi is because Donald Trump started off with Pizzagates, and Pizzagates, made Bondi look like a reasonable choice. Hell, even I was sitting there going, I know I'm not going to like what Pam Bondi does as Attorney General of these United States. However, it's a much better choice than Gates. But that's a very low bar, and that's not saying much. So she's still crap. And also, as she said, and we'll say over and over again on this podcast,
no one is above the law in this country.
So thank you, Pam Bondi, for giving me that little clip. It's not as good as this one.
You are much, much smarter than I am.
When Congressman Joseph Gao said that to me at a town hall, that's just my personal favorite, but, no
one is above the law in this country.
That should be playing on loop, on repeat, over and over and over again. Oh, forgot to include one thing. Another thing I forgot, as it pertains to this criminal president, is for his 100 days in office, Donald Trump put 100 posters of persons arrested and to be deported or have already been deported with what they've been accused of. Now, if they're actually guilty of these crimes and they're not citizens, then I have no problem with, if you don't want to lock them up, with deporting them. I have no problem with that. But again, everybody in this country has a right to due process. It doesn't matter if you're here legally, as they would say, or not. It doesn't matter if you're undocumented. It doesn't matter if you're a citizen. It doesn't matter if you're a non-citizen. Due process rights belong to everybody. And the fact that this president would do this not only shows how deplorable he is, how shameful he is, it's also just how childish he is. This is not the act of a grown-up. This is not the act that somebody does who is an adult. We have children running this country. Donald Trump is a giant orange man baby. And doing this is yet just another example of his childishness. So Easy E, I agree with Hal on due process. We have to be better than Russia or North Korea or China. I mean, that's also a very low bar, Easy E, to be better than those countries. We have to be the best. We should absolutely be the best country. We have the ability to be the best country on this because we could set the example. Our constitutional protections should be setting the example to the entire free world. Then again, that assumes that we're still part of the free world because the world wants less and less to do with us. And every action that this administration takes has proven themselves to be, proving us to be less and less of the home of the land of the free. We are not the land of the free if you can be locked up, shipped away without due process. That's not land of the free. It's not the home of the brave either. Brave people would confront their problems right on and not hide behind their own manufactured BS legal reasonings. Anyway, so let's see. We can delete that. We can delete that. We can delete that. And again, something I was saying earlier, we should absolutely be careful of who we go after and who we lock up. Of course, they did a perp walk with the judge from Wisconsin because, why not? To me, perp walks are disgusting. It should never happen. All a perp walk does is show the public the person in handcuffs, which makes more people in the public think that the person is guilty because they're seeing that person in handcuffs. That's not what we should be. Now, we should know. People should be able to have, tabs on them if they're ever arrested to make sure that they're not disappeared, especially, everybody, because everybody's citizen or not deserves due process. But, yeah, we need to That's why we need to keep an eye on this administration more carefully than anybody else. Lisa, he wears a diaper. Yes, he does. Orange on the outside of the diaper, brown on the inside of the diaper. Hey, Dean, good to see you. I didn't see you hop in before, so thank you for joining the show. Hugs and pugs. I miss my pugs. I'm sorry. I love pups. All sorts of pups. Melania was cosplaying as an Italian widow Nona at the Pope's funeral. Yeah, it's pretty much what I said earlier. She was dressing for the job she wanted. Anyway. Let's talk about this one more thing before we move on. Now, there's been certain levels of dissent amongst the MAGA faithful, though. Like, it's not, as Chad said earlier, the independents who are the only ones jumping ship. And I'm not saying these two clowns are jumping the ship, but guess what? We're going to play their clips anyway because, you know, why not? Let's see what they have to say. Charlie Kirk discussing the Trump administration for detaining a Tufts student.
Deporting somebody because they wrote an op-ed critical of Israel. I think that's probably in the gray area.
Gray area? There's no gray area there. It's wrong. You can say it. Let it come out between your shallow, sunken eyes and let everybody know that, you know, what Donald Trump did is wrong. And I think he's trying here to not lose audience whilst saying what he potentially wants to say, but let's continue.
So would you say that there's some things that the administration's done on immigration where you think they haven't been sufficiently respectful of First Amendment rights? Is that fair to say?
No, I wouldn't even say that. I would
Of course he wouldn't say that because he's not going to want to lose his audience.
say that we run a little bit of a problem if we are going to say that the criteria to get your visa revoked is writing an op-ed. Now, that might be an exaggeration by somebody.
Yeah.
Right? But if the op-ed was not even critical of America, which it was critical of a foreign country.
Right.
And again, I'm very pro-Israel as I say this.
Right.
And let me tell you what.
And someone in the chat says he's anti-Semitic, but he's pro-Israel, which just goes to say why being pro-Israel is not being pro-Jewish. You can absolutely be an anti-Semite and be pro-Israel. Richard Spencer, no Nazi, is pro-Israel because he wants all of us moving over there so we don't have to live here. Let's continue.
I actually think it creates more anti-Israel hostility and anti-Semitism when it looks as if such a strong hand of the government is going to come in.
Yeah, anyway, so there's that. But let's listen to this one. This genius, this potential hypocrite of the week. Maybe we'll see if we'll make her hypocrite of the week on the next show. I didn't have time to prepare that this show. So anyway, Candace Owens turns on Donald Trump, supposedly. Let's hear what she has to say.
I never thought that I would see a day where I would be rooting for a university above Donald J. Trump and his administration.
And so here you go. She starts off right at the bat. I never thought that I would see the day where I would be cheering against Trump and for a university.
But I don't recognize this administration right now. I don't recognize what's happening. I have a theory.
You don't recognize it? Well, let's get back to that in a little bit, Ms. Owens, because you should recognize it a lot based on something else that you said a while ago, but we'll continue.
I do. We were kicking around some theories earlier, me and the team, and we were going, how could Trump be such a free speech enthusiast and allowing these things to happen?
Because he's not a free speech enthusiast, you dumbass. He's not. He's for his own free speech. He doesn't want anybody else having free speech. He wants other people's speech shut down. Donald Trump has said that he wants individuals to be thrown out of town hall meetings. Like when you have a town hall meeting with a Republican congressman, congresswoman, congressperson, whatever, Congress critter, if you are you are holding a town hall meeting as a Republican congressperson and you have people who are coming in who are disagreeing with you and the MAGA agenda, that he believes that you should be able to get kicked out for just voicing your dissent. I don't know. You know, I thought there was this thing called the Constitution that specifically enabled us to redress our grievances with the government. And what better way to address those grievances with your government than going to your congressperson's town hall and letting them know that you have a problem with what they're doing as a congressperson, you have a problem with what the Trump administration is doing, and you want them to stand up against it. But to Donald Trump, that's something that you should be able to be removed from a town hall meeting. So no, he is not a free speech advocate. He is not a free speech enthusiast. He is not even a First Amendment enthusiast. He wipes his ass with the Constitution daily.
After college universities, trying to suppress speech while pretending that you're not suppressing speech, while pretending that you're fighting DEI. It's so messy. It's so obvious. Everyone knows what you're doing. People who are still trying to grift, I suppose, are not willing to challenge you on this, which is ridiculous, because when you are out of office, we are going to have to live with these consequences. Our children are going to have to grow up in this America. Okay? So when you threaten our speech, it's not worth it so that we can have pom-poms and go hurrah for a couple of years, then go, okay, well, yeah, now it kind of stinks because, we're getting arrested for wrongthink. We got David Friedman. Yeah, arrest him. Arrest Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens. Get them.
But here's the difference between us there, Candace. Guess what? We wouldn't want you arrested for just simply having a difference of opinion. We wouldn't want that to happen to you. We disagree with you vehemently, but we don't want you to get, arrested, locked away, kicked out of town hall meetings for stating your opinion and stating and voicing your disagreement with anybody, be it the right or the left. I don't believe anybody. We never heard President Biden saying that if you come to a Democratic congressperson's town hall and you voice your displeasure with what they're doing in Congress, that you should be able to get kicked out just for simply having a disagreement. Not even a violation of any sort of decorum, not causing a disturbance, just simply disagreeing. Biden never did that. Obama never did that. Clinton never did that. So it's not a Democratic thing. It's not something that our party does. However, it's something that your party does, and you've been supporting that country for a long-ass time. But here's where you're a hypocrite, right? You say you don't understand this administration. You don't recognize this administration. You absolutely should recognize the administration, because what this administration is doing is what you talked about when you supposedly criticized Adolf Hitler at your other little speech that you gave a while back. Because Candace Owens said that Hitler would have been okay if he wanted to just make Germany great again, but instead he was a globalist and he was trying to, affect other areas outside of Germany, by sending people to concentration camps in Poland. What is this administration doing? They're sending people to concentration camps in other countries. And the difference between a prison and a concentration camp is to get into a prison, it requires you to go through something called due process. To be sent to a concentration camp, no due process is required because concentration camps should be seen as extra legal, actually not in following of the law. And of course, Candace Owens will constantly say, well, I didn't say that I agreed with Adolf Hitler. Well, you said that Hitler would have been okay if he just wanted to make Germany great again. That's what you said. You said that specifically. So she can deny it all she wants, but she should absolutely recognize, because she spoke about it, Trump is doing exactly what you were actually critical of Hitler of, for spreading his horrible political, ideas outside of Germany. Again, now if Hitler had only done it inside of Germany, it still would have been terrible. It still would have been wrong, still would have been evil, and he still should have been criticized for it. Which is why people will say, correctly, that Candace Owens said words that were in support of Adolf Hitler and his actions within Germany. That he would have been okay had he just wanted to, quote, make Germany great again. But no. And now you're still like, I don't recognize Trump. You should have. because everybody's been giving you the warning signs of what happens. Just look at what happened in Nazi Germany. Advance it forward 80 years. There you go. Here we go again. So, what do you think? Are you a conservative who is wondering where Donald Trump went and why he's not this enthusiast on free speech that you might have thought he was? Are you a conservative, a MAGA type who is upset with Candace Owens and her chastising, I guess, in this video of Herr Donald and his policies on free speech at campuses or whatever? Do you agree with me that, they're terrible, kind of shocked that she is actually taking such a strong stand, but still stop clock being right once or twice a day, depending if you're using military time or not? Anyway, if whatever you think, make sure to leave your comments down below. Remember to like the video, share, subscribe to the channel, and unless you're a Nazi or a supporter of this administration, which at this point I can't tell the difference, have a good day. Let's see. Sometimes it's not about how smart the leader is. It's about how dumb the electorate is. Pretty much. That is an accurate statement. And stupid people in large numbers can do horrible things. Because I've always, that's the one thing that pisses me off about MAGA and Trump or whatever. That is the fact that they're so dumb, yet they're able to get away with this. They're able to win elections. They're able to win the presidency not once but twice. And of course now Donald Trump is selling Trump 2028 hats. Oh, he's just doing it to troll. No. He's doing it because he wants to do it. And he wants to find a way to do it. And fine. If you want to run for a third term, we get Obama. How about them apples? I'm more than happy to take Obama and get a third term for President Obama. Because he would wipe the floor with your orange ass. Being said, it's unconstitutional for either of them to run for office a third time for a third term. Now, can Trump do the thing that I suggested a long time ago, that just have J.D. Vance run for president, and then Trump runs for vice president, and then after they get sworn in, Trump goes, okay, Vance, you resign, and I'll appoint you as my vice president again, and we'll have another term together. Could that happen? I don't know. That would have to be tested. That legal theory would have to be tested. Of course, many people would suggest no, it shouldn't be able to happen because the Constitution is clear. Other people might say it could have been worded better. And as such, if we would have worded better, we could have protected the individuals of this country from a third term of Trump, and for anybody for that matter. Since FDR, we haven't had more than 2. And it's good, because term limits are a good thing. We don't have kings. We don't want kings. But Donald Trump said he is a king, and, whatever.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. That's the wrong clip, though.
Well, I didn't vote for you.
That's the clip I was looking for. Didn't Hitler reject a plan to flood the UK with counterfeit currency because it would be too destabilizing to the world economy? I don't know if that's true or not. And that's the case, then, when it comes to the economy, at least, Hitler may very well have been more knowledgeable about it than Trump. Now, until Trump actually starts, opening more camps, people are going to balk at the comparison. But I've been saying that Donald Trump has been using Hitler's tactics since 2016, and people have been calling me nuts for it. I'm wondering how many more times I have to be called nuts before people are like, you know what, Dan, you were right this entire time. When they're going to say I'm right is when I'm hauled off to a camp for disagreeing with Donald Trump. Right? Anyway. See, it would have hurt Germany and appeasement efforts. Yes, because, well, at the time, if I'm thinking it's the correct time, if they were appeasing it, that means that it was Neville Chamberlain who was in charge and not Churchill. And as I've said, when it comes to Donald Trump is our Neville Chamberlain when it comes to Vladimir Putin. Because he wants to let him get away. He wants to be good friends with Putin. He likes his buddy Putin. He'll do anything for him. Bend over, backwards, forwards, anything he wants. Hey, Brandon Woods, good to see you. Thank you for joining. MJ Daniel, thank you as well. I don't think I even said hey to Easy E, so hey Easy E, good to see you as well. Does she embrace the evil side because it pays way better than the truth? Don't I know that? I would love to be able to have this being, I would love to have the truth pay much more than lies and evil. But lies and evil, I guess, are more money makers than the truth. So, let us go ahead, and we will go ahead and flip the call signs on 562-LibDan1, 562-542-3261. You're conservative or you're liberal, you're leftist, you're progressive, you live in the country, you live outside the country, you want to call in, go right ahead. We can talk about the issues. I am anticipating at least one person to call in. Maybe. We'll see. Thank you, Leanna. Appreciate you. Let's see. Why does it delete my post if it is in top posts versus all posts? I don't know why that is the case, Big Hook. You should be able to see your own post, I guess, in top posts, but I guess maybe that's not how the algorithm works. We just need to figure out how the algorithm works, because all computer code is based on an algorithm, and that's why Al Gore invented the internet. Of course, we know Al Gore needs more rhythm, and that's why, you need to like, share, and subscribe, and comment on videos that are existing, and all the other fun stuff that I talk about all the time. Anyway, show reset, Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right, Mondays and Wednesdays here at 8 p.m. Central on liberaldanradio.com, twitch.tv/liberaldanradio. Support the show. Go to the Patreon, patreon.com/liberaldan or patreon.liberaldan.com. Venmo, Liberal Dan. Buy me a cider, go to liberaldan.com, click the Buy Me a Cider button, or go to buymeacoffee.com/liberaldanradio to make a one-time help out of the show. You can do super chats, super stickers, all that good stuff. I think the game's almost expired that I've been talking about, so we're not going to bring that up anymore. There's not any time really to play it, so we'll have to deal with it as what it is. I'm sorry, that's Donald Trump's line. I should not step over his purview. Thank you, Donald. Dirty Dan. Yes, dirty. That's for Liberal Dan After Dark. Hey, Kimchi, thank you for being a Liberal Danimal for 9 months. Appreciate you. Thank you for that. See, any Canadians know when a PM election should be decided? I haven't heard anything about it. See, Churchill lost the election after World War II because of anti-war sentiment and a lack of love for his party. I think it was also due to anti-communist sentiment as well. Maybe. I mean, you did have Russia gaining foothold and sway and power after World War II. And maybe they would have done more, but that's one of the reasons there was, who was the director that directed this series? I guess was it on a whole bunch of stuff about history that you don't know. Oliver Stone, I think it was. And he basically showed us that we didn't have to drop the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Fat Man and Little Boy did not have to be dropped. We did not have to kill all those people in order to scare Japan to stop fighting us. All they needed to do was wait a few days, and the Russian army would have been on the door of Japan. They'd have been able to do whatever they needed to do to cross over, and they would have been a threat to Japan, and they would have been a threat to Emperor Hirohito, and they would have probably have given up at that point anyway, regardless of whether or not you dropped a bomb. But the reason we dropped the bombs is not to teach Japan a lesson, not to force Japan to surrender, but to show Russia what we were capable of technologically speaking. And so many needless deaths occurred because we wanted to prove a point to Russia. That's just wrong and evil and sick and twisted. Thank you, Jackie, for being a Liberal Danimal for 3 months. Love you as well. Thank you so much for that. I do enjoy Liberal Dan Radio. Yes, happy Daniversary to everybody who celebrates. Surprised not a phone call yet. I have pretty much gone through most of what I wanted to go over today. Got David Hogg's thing. Oh yeah, there is one more thing that I wanted to talk about. Let's bring that up real quick, because I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about this case. Let's just open up the MSNBC article about it, I guess. Virginia Giuffre, or however it is you pronounce her name, an outspoken survivor of Jeffrey Epstein, has died by how? Suicide. Really? I am frankly surprised at the few amounts of posts that I've seen that has said Virginia didn't kill herself. Prominent survivor, a financier, Jeffrey Epstein's abuse and advocate for sex trafficking victims, died by suicide in her home of Australia, her family said Friday. Her family announced the news of her death in a statement saying the toll of abuse is so heavy that it became unbearable for Virginia to handle its weight. 41 was one of the most outspoken women who accused Jeffrey Epstein of sexual abuse and sex trafficking. She said she was a troubled teenager trying to rebuild her life when she met Epstein's associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, who roped her into their cycle as Maxwell groomed her for Epstein's abuse, which lasted for years. She said then passed her around like a platter of fruit to his powerful friends. She named Britain's Prince Andrew as one of the men who sexually abused her. She sued him in federal court in 2021, alleging that she was forced to have sex with him multiple times when she was 17. He denied the allegations, but the fallout became a national scandal, and he was stripped of his royal titles in 2022. He settled with her for an undisclosed sum 1 month later and did not admit to any of the allegations. This article says that Epstein died by suicide in jail in New York City while awaiting trial for his crime. I don't believe it. I don't believe it one bit. Anyway, let's pause this for a second. Hey, Big Hook, what's going on?
Hanging in there. You got the news
of what?
That what happened here in Vancouver. We had a maniac kill 11 people with a car.
Yes, I did hear about that.
Yeah.
I did hear about that. It's shameful. You know, they, I'm sure the conservative gun types would be like, see, you can murder people with cars too. You don't need a gun. Yeah, but you can kill a lot more people a lot more quickly with a gun, and that's why we need to have common sense about guns. And but this is a horrible tragedy to take place, and including a 5-year-old girl and her parents were amongst the dead. And it's, I didn't necessarily see it getting that much coverage, although I might have missed some. But yeah, it's it's a terrible tragedy whenever, and it happened here was it Wisconsin, I think it was, where you had the one guy who believed himself to be a sovereign citizen, who drove over people as well, and he's locked up and going to prison. But people are just sick. People are sick and twisted in this world. But thoughts do go out to all of the people, but it's
the thing that's so bad about it here, it means that basically now any event that we want to hold here among the multicultural societies now will require police supervision as well as blockades now, because now that it's happened here in this situation. I mean, it happened before. We had some idiot in, I think it was Toronto, that went and mowed down a whole bunch of people as well, but but in this case, it was just basically a street that was basically blocked off with, those temporary, blockades and whatnot. Nothing like a concrete barrier or anything, but that now has to change. It means increased cost to celebrate your heritage or where you come from or any of that sort of stuff. It's
it's sad. I mean,
the times.
Yeah, I mean, we had the one incident here in New Orleans on New Year's. We have just sick, twisted people, and unfortunately, we have a sick, twisted president on top of that, who will probably find some way to make it all about him, like he always does, and probably tied into who he wants to win the presidency or whatever.
That's the thing I wanted to discuss.
Yeah.
Because the mental health aspect, because you mentioned before that the guy the person went and shot the person. And then, as I recall, we had another incident from before when, what was it, that young kid knocked on the wrong door, black kid knocked on the wrong door, and the guy was looking at, tried to shoot him, and he actually had to be on a step ladder or whatever, and he was looking through the window trying to shoot the young boy that was knocking on the wrong door.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I mean, it's paranoia that's been stoked by Donald Trump. He's like, oh, well, now they'll shoot you, or they will beat old ladies with a baseball bat in the back of the head, and all this sort of stuff. And I mean, that's just stoking fear and paranoia. And that's, you know, this should be illegal. This should be conduct that disqualifies him from being president. Because you're supposed to console and comfort as well as promote peace amongst the nation. You're not supposed to come up with conspiracy theories that make everybody look at everybody as a suspect trying to end your life. I mean, it's just beyond, you know, what's moral or anything else. And I mean, this really speaks poorly to how the American public views everything, because the post that I tried to post was basically conservative compromise, or a shucks compromise, and it would be basically, well, who hasn't driven drunk and killed somebody and thrown their body in the trunk and buried it where nobody will look? And isn't that part of freedom and and MAGA, and what's wrong with deporting?
Well, if that happens, clearly it was an accident, right? I mean, there was an accident when the guy brought down a gun and shot Aaron's friend. So I guess all these other things are accidents too, right? It wasn't purposely done or whatever. Although he purposely brought the gun downstairs, he purposely loaded it, he purposely cocked it, he purposely eliminated all the safety precautions that are on the gun. Whatever. Being an accident doesn't excuse anybody of crimes. Like if I didn't mean to drive while drunk and run your ass over, then I still shouldn't be able to get away with it, because I still made the decision to go out, to go drinking, to drive while drinking, and to put other people's lives at risk. And yeah, maybe it wasn't intentional, but to actually run over the people, but it's intentional to get in the car and drive drunk. And by doing that, you are recklessly endangering other people's lives. And
well, see, here in Canada, we had a very weird case, which basically went like this, okay? There was an elderly woman, and she had some crazed drug addict who was trying to break into her house. Now, she went and basically got a kitchen knife. And basically, the guy was breaking in through the door with an axe. And when he did that, and then attempted to reach his hand in the door to unlock the door to come in and assault her, she stabbed him with the knife. And guess who they sided with?
Him, and not her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to this day, that doesn't make any sense to me, because she was fearing for her life. And he turned around and sued her for using excessive force. And it's like, hello, excessive force, an axe coming through the door with, the worst intentions? I don't know where you go with that.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of the thing. Like, that's the thing, though. Conservatives will use that. It was like, this is why we need to have stronger castle doctrine and stronger whatever. No. Self-defense should be self-defense, and she should easily be able to say, he was trying to get through my door with an axe, and I did the minimal amount that I thought necessary to stop him from trying to get in my door with an axe, which I guess in her mind was just stabbing him or slicing him or however we used the knife. But still, that should be seen as a reasonable action on her part in defending her house. And again, as I said earlier in the show, I'm not going to begrudge somebody for protecting their lives when their house is actually at risk of being broken into, because you don't know what the intent is of that person. So you should have every right to use whatever force you think is necessary to prevent somebody from breaking into your house. But unfortunately, people take that and take it to the nth degree, and then, like, you know, that a-hole from North Carolina who, you know, got away with, you know, killing somebody simply because of the fact that, you know, he claimed, oh, it was an accident. But because we're such gun nuts in this country that we're obsessed and we can't do anything. Nobody has the will to do anything that will help prevent these deaths, especially the people in the MAGA GOP type. Although they will, you know, they have spoken many times about their willingness to take guns away from others. Like, you know, I'm sure they would have no problem with reinstating stop and frisk and stopping black and brown people and making sure they don't have guns on them, because in reality, when conservatives talk about the Second Amendment rights, they're only talking about Second Amendment rights for certain people and not others.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's the superiority clause that they always go, oh, I'm superior, therefore I have more rights than you. I get to decide what everybody is allowed to do. Mm-hmm. I decide who gets those rights and who gets to use them and all the rest of it. I mean, it's just stupidity to the nth degree. It's the selfish gene where, you know, they think that it's my way or the highway, and if you don't like it, you can either you can walk, or you know, you can die, one or the other. It's, you know, they don't care. And that's the whole thing. I mean, conscience of a conservative. I mean, what an ironic title for that one famous book. You know, I mean, they really do, you know, for all the things that they do. I mean, who deports a kid with brain cancer who is there seeking treatment? I mean, who doesn't extend a lifeline to that person, especially when it's only available more than likely within the U.S. and to U.S. citizens, which he qualified for.
Yep.
You know, I mean, I'm sorry, I can't look at conservatives and not get angry, because they just have an excuse for everything. Everything is upside down. Everything is bullshit. Everything is, well, I'd have to think about that, you know, well, you know, everything is, you know, when we present facts, they go, well, that's your opinion. And it's like, no, it's not an opinion. It's a fact.
Exactly.
You know, and everything, you know, everything is a compromise with them. Oh, well, we have to appease them, otherwise they might, you know, and that's the whole thing. Everything is a compromise, because guess what? They might get violent.
Right.
Which means that you're basically living in fear, and you're basically giving permission to threaten people with violence to get your way.
Well, that's the problem with the conservative compromise, is that the conservative form of compromise is do what we want to do. That's their form of compromise. Because, like, during the healthcare bill debate or whatever, when we were discussing like HR 3200 and the other option, the Senate bill that passed or whatever for the Affordable Care Act, aka Obamacare, their idea of compromise was, hey, we have this bill, why don't you sign this one instead? That's not compromise, that's do our thing. And their thing was dumb.
Yeah, I know. And that's the thing. And we've seen conservative policies. They don't work. They never work. They fail in every single way possible. I mean, what was it there in Mississippi now? Apparently they now hold the world's record for hookworms, because, you know, they don't have a proper sanitation system. And, you know, Biden apparently was trying to look into trying to get the thing fixed through the Build Back Better program thing that he put in there. And now they're like, you know, it's in question as to whether it'll actually get done because Trump is in power.
Right. He
For
doesn't allow
hookworms.
he doesn't allow our
That's a
agencies to
third world
communicate with each
disease.
other. Yeah, well, I mean, measles should have been a third world disease now only too, but that's coming back full storm, and we have a bunch of idiots who reject science, who reject reason, who reject logic, and who just wants to follow their king Trump. And they don't care what he does. They will happily make excuses for him, even when they say, "Hey, Biden did this. What do you think about that?" And they'll be vocally, vehemently disagreeing with him. And then they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, that was Trump that did that. Oh, here's my excuse as to why Trump doing it is okay." So, but as we say,
here's
hypocrisy
the
is a
thing that
conservative
gets
prerequisite. Go ahead.
Yeah, but here's the thing. They constantly go and say, "Oh, liberals are violent," and it's like, we don't have the track record of being violent. We've been the ones who have been talking the problem out and coming up with solutions, which you guys refuse to acknowledge or do anything about. I mean,
Right.
This is the whole thing. And, their answer is violence. And it's like, and if you don't like it, you can either die or, we get our way no matter what. And it's like, you're not acting like an adult. You're not
Right.
you're not even acting as a human. You're just acting as your own self-imposed dictator of it's my way or the highway. It's and you got nothing to stand on because everybody is supposed to have equal rights.
Yep.
And equal means I get my way all the time, according to conservatives. And that's fucked up.
Some
and they
people are more
can't
equal than
see that.
others. Some people are more equal than I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a conservative politician or somebody from the Trump administration say in response to equal rights or whatever. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually came out and said some people are more equal than others and not understood the irony in that.
The world doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me anymore. And, the U.S. has fallen under the spell of a madman who, is the least Jesus-like person, but that they hold to that standard. And, the rest of the world is shaking their head and laughing at you guys because you're destroying everything. You're going to, at the rate you're going to destroy all science. You're going to destroy all the institutions of learning. You're going to destroy the laws by which made you a semi-civilized society. But, everything is being thrown to the wind now because let's try something different. It's like, we tried it your way so many fucking times, and it never results in the things that you keep saying. How does the old saying go? The definition of insanity is to keep trying the same thing and hoping for a different result.
Yep, pretty much.
And that's the thing. So that means that all conservatives are insane. Because everything that they've ever tried has failed and never works. The voodoo economics, the declaring war. Bush, admitted, if I get into power, I'm going to use war to stay in office.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to use war to get it to stay in office? That means that you're a war criminal.
Yep.
I mean, where does it go? Where does this go?
Birds of a feather flock together. See, Kimchi in chat says, I can't believe they're getting away with eliminating DEI. The outright racism is shocking. I mean, they don't even understand what DEI is. I mean, Donald Trump did say the words in his address to Congress when he said diversity, equity, and inclusion, but they still doesn't know what those words mean. They don't understand. They think it just means hiring somebody because they're black, when in reality it's, much more than that, but much better than that. And it's no one's going to get hired simply because they're black who's unqualified. They're just wanting
Yeah,
to
but
make
that's
sure.
a consequence of the 5th grade comprehension level, and
Yeah.
all the information they get is anecdotal and through right-wing networks, where you hear what you want to hear, because it sides with your beliefs that were generations, inbred. That, oh, we're superior because we were here first, or your melanin dictates whether you're right or you're not really right. I mean,
We should just start calling those people sandwiches. You know why? Because sandwiches are inbred.
I'm waiting.
Sandwiches are inbred.
Yeah, I know. I mean, Ancestry.com would probably have a field day with some of these people, because it's,
their
the
family tree is a
chromosomal-
straight line.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I
Their
mean, you get
family
these
tree
communities-
loops around back on itself. Like that song from what, I'm My Own Grandpa, that was in what, Weird Al's UHF and other things.
Yeah, but think about it here, okay? If you went to an institution of higher learning, chances are that you would meet somebody who not only was educated, but outside of the family lineage. And you might marry and actually produce a better human being as a result.
Hold on. Kimchi has an alternate punchline. She goes, they are sandwiches because they're white on the outside and full of bologna. So,
yeah,
kudos to Kimchi for the
agree.
alternate.
Yes,
Kudos for Kimchi on that one. Yes.
Yes, she's definitely.
There's a reason
knows
why
how
she's
to
the
insult.
goddess. There's a reason why she is our goddess.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, I just, like I said, things. Do you think he's going to last another 100 days, or do you think it's? And then the question is can we survive Vance, or better yet, even Mike Johnson, if it ever came down to that? Because at this point, things just keep getting worse and worse and worse, and I mean, I don't know how much more he can destroy America, but he keeps trying.
I mean, Donald Trump is a cockroach, and unfortunately, what they say about cockroaches is they survive when they shouldn't. That's unfortunately what's happening currently. Is that he's still kicking. No natural causes has come around, because I'm rooting for natural causes. If you're listening, Secret Service, FBI, whatever, natural causes. Not anybody taking action. I mean, people should take action to remove him from office legally, but that's not going to happen. Even though some representative did file articles of impeachment, but that's not going to go anywhere, because the Republican Party doesn't have a spine and won't stand up to his unconstitutional actions, because they always take the Constitution and wipe their collective asses with it. So,
well, not only that, but then they've been given power, and they have basically rejected the power to actually defend the citizenry, and they've handed it all to Trump, who is hurting the citizenry, which means that they are, they're not members of Congress because they're neglecting their duties. I mean, what do you do with that? I mean, unless you can recall them and say you're not doing your job, which doesn't make,
Which I don't think there are mechanisms to recall federal legislators. I only think that those things exist in certain states, which sucks, but
Yeah, well, like I said, the world doesn't make a whole lot of sense. The rest of the world is looking to the United States and wondering how badly are you guys going to go? Like, how deep is the hole that you're willing to go down before you finally look up and say enough is enough? We got to get out of this.
Right.
Because at this point, I don't see how you're going to make it another 100 days. I mean, realistically,
I don't know. I mean, maybe the Maybe the military will finally do what I've been saying that the military should have done, the last time or whatever, or would have to keep an eye on for last time, and just remove from power the criminal when no one else is willing to do it, because they took an oath to the Constitution and not an oath to a president. And so there may very well come a point in time where the military is like, you know what, F you, you've gone too far. I don't know when that point would be. I would think that point should be somewhat soon, if not already. But I'm sure there are others who might disagree and say that it should have to get worse. But one of the reasons why I always have tried to make the analogy between Trump and Hitler and showing that Trump used Hitler's 1930s tactics is because you don't let Nazis get to 1940s Nazis. You stop them in the 1930s before they can gain any real power. And we've been failing miserably at this, and historians are weeping at our ridiculousness and our stupidity and our inability to recognize what the hell's going on in front of our faces. So anyway, you want to add one more last thought before
hear you.
I head out?
Well, we're about to find out whether or not Canada is crazy soon as well, because
according to the news, according to Politico, I think the Liberal won. So.
Okay, well then maybe we have retained our sanity, because at this point we've got. Don't get me wrong, we got our crazies up here too. The climate denial and. Lower taxes helps everybody. No, it doesn't. It just helps the rich. Yep. That bullshit. Oh yeah, let's dismantle the social safety net that makes Canada one of the best places in the world to live. Yeah, that really makes sense. Yeah. Paul Revere is a real piece of shit too, because he's already got a sweet life, and he's never attained anything. He had the one time that he was in government and in a seat or a department where he had to do something was in housing, and he produced the smallest amount of housing in Canadian history while he was there, which just goes to show you, he talks shit all the time, and that's all he does. He just takes shots at people. He's a finger pointer. He doesn't actually fix problems. He just likes to point at them, and has no solutions. This is the thing about conservatives. They do this. That's what they're famous for. Oh, I can point my finger and tell you what's wrong, but I have absolutely no solutions, and I'm unwilling to try. And the only thing I can tell you is I'm willing to slash the taxes for the richest amongst us. What do you do with that?
Right.
They don't represent the people. They represent the rich. And, you can't do much more beyond that. It's a sad commentary of where society has gone because, and people are stupid enough to vote these people into power. But anyway, as I like to say, I chewed your ear off probably long enough, and it wasn't Mike Tyson this time, so I guess it's my fault.
That's ludicrous.
But
that's silly. Anyway, sorry, bad Mike Tyson impression. Don't want to make Mike Tyson mad. He'll either chew my other ear off, or he'll take a swing. Either way, I don't want to get on that. Anyway, so thank you so much for calling in. Appreciate you. I'm probably going to be ending the show in a few seconds. So anyway, because I got other stuff I have to work on, but I appreciate you again for calling in. Congratulations for Canada to actually making a correct decision, unlike we were able to. And so, well, hopefully y'all will set the example for us where, I don't know if we'll take it, but we need others to set the example, because we're failing. So anyway, thank you so much, Big Hook. You have a great rest of your day, and I guess we'll talk another day.
Yes, well, I enjoy the rabble rousing, as they say, and not that I'm an evil person. It just bothers the hell out of me that people allow this stuff to happen, and they can't see the fault in their ways. And, You know, it's like I said, it's the definition of insanity to do the same thing over and over and over again and expect a different result. You know, but oh well. I have
Well,
to
you have
say,
a
I
good.
thank my dad. I thank
Yep.
my dad for bringing us up here to Canada, because I'll tell you, that was the best decision he ever made in his life. And he made some bad decisions in his life as well, but boy, he didn't mess up when it came to this one. Anyway, all right. Well, thank you, and hopefully I made some people happy in the chat.
All right, you made tons of people. I mean, it made me happy every time when you call in because I appreciate your voice. I appreciate your thoughts. So you have a great rest of your night, Big Hook, and we will talk again. I know.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
All right. So that was Big Hook. Big Hook from the Great White North. Appreciate you for calling in. We are going to end the phone segment because I have some stuff to do tonight. But it's always good to have Big Hook call in and give his two loonies, or his toonie, if you will, because the toonies are cool. Anyway, so thank everybody again. If you're watching on Twitch, it'll be an abrupt ending until I can find a better song to leave on both shows. Until then, thank you all very much. nerdydan.com over on Twitch on Tuesdays as normal, and then we'll come back here Wednesday. I think my friend Ari is going to be calling in and talking about at least one of his projects, and we'll also talk about everything else that's going on, news of the day. But thank you so much for watching. Appreciate y'all. Have a good night.